Today, let me share wisdom about enriching the mind with understanding. Our minds often lack true insight, causing them to drift in a sea of mental formations and constructs. Like pure water disturbed by external forces creates ripples, our consciousness responds to stimuli, creating waves of thoughts and emotions. The mind, veiled by fundamental ignorance, seeks refuge in these mental formations, thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. These are merely movements of consciousness, natural ripples arising from contact with external conditions. Picture our inherent awareness as water. When something touches its surface, waves naturally form. Similarly, where there is mind, there are mental formations. These mental formations represent the truth of suffering. They are impermanent states that cannot maintain stability, constantly shifting and belonging to no one. They simply exist as natural phenomena. Our mind, clouded by lack of understanding, flows with these formations, assigning meaning to everything it encounters. When eyes see, ears hear, nose smells, tongue tastes, or body touches, the mind immediately labels and categorizes these experiences, creating stories about them. This is a human voice, this is an animal sound, and so forth. This labeling process generates emotional responses, pleasure and pain, and we become caught in this cycle, flowing between happiness and suffering. It's like our mind, which is inherently pure and complete like nirvana itself, gets lost in a dream. In this dream, we imagine ourselves having physical bodies, parents, relatives, family lines, living in societies, countries, on earth, in the universe. We fully believe in the concrete reality of these conventional constructs, convinced of our solid existence as human beings. The key to freedom lies in recognizing these patterns and understanding the true nature of our mind beyond its temporary ripples and formations. As we journey through life, we experience both joy and sorrow, but these emotions exist within what is essentially a dream state. In this dreamlike existence, we encounter pleasure and pain, satisfaction and dissatisfaction, love and hate, and moments of peace that come from living and practicing spiritual teachings within this illusory realm. Then, through grace, we meet wise teachers who guide us toward awakening, and suddenly we startle into awareness. We discover a reality beyond the dream world, one that is inherently pure and complete. In this awakened state, we realize there is no suffering, no form, no birth, no death, no darkness, no light. It merges with everything, yet remains free from all things, a neutral, pristine element that has always been pure throughout time. When we truly realize that our essential nature is this pure consciousness, tears often flow as all doubts dissolve. We understand that everything we thought we were, our human identity, our life story since birth, was part of this dream state, where we were caught in mental formations and conventional reality. For those who genuinely awaken to this truth with their whole heart, experiencing it directly for themselves, they discover that the mind itself is one's true refuge. There's no need to seek external shelter. The real sanctuary has always been within. This is the essence of Buddhist practice, an inner awakening that reveals the 5 aggregates: body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, as not self, not mine, simply natural phenomena functioning according to their nature. Even this voice speaking, the sounds being heard, and the consciousness aware of them, these are all natural processes performing their functions. They are conditioned phenomena, while our true nature observes from a place of pure awareness. The path of practice is simply this: staying inwardly aware, not getting lost in mental formations, allowing the mind to fully awaken to its true nature. It's actually quite simple, just guiding the mind to wake up rather than flowing along with fabricated reality. For those who haven't yet grasped this essential teaching, their minds continue to drift with mental formations, questioning, can it really be this simple? Surely we must engage the body in walking or sitting meditation. How can we practice with just the mind? They circle in these thoughts, unaware they're caught in thinking itself. This is the true tragedy. Beings who have the rare fortune of human birth and access to Buddhist teachings, yet focus only on the outer shell rather than the core essence. Many spend their resources building physical structures and monuments, hoping to gain merit and good karma. But what do they truly gain? They create material objects that eventually decay, only to build them again and again. It's quite strange when you think about it. Consider our physical bodies, such fragile vessels that might cease functioning before reaching 1 year, 10 years, or any age. The body is incredibly delicate. A single strong impact could end it all. It's merely a temporary vessel housing our consciousness clouded by ignorance. Our minds have been caught in this cycle of delusion for countless ages. When this body's lifespan ends, whether at 10, 20, 30, 80 or 100 years, regardless of how successful, wealthy or renowned we became, our consciousness drifts away seeking a new vessel, sometimes in gross form, sometimes subtle, often as animals. Each time we start new, our memories reset. We identify ourselves as different beings, as crabs, fish, cattle, tigers, cats, millipedes, humans, hungry ghosts, celestial beings, or divine entities. With each birth we begin again, learning new, attaching new, building our world new. When that form ends, consciousness drifts again to fortunate or unfortunate realms, gross or subtle bodies, repeating the cycle. Who can see the futility in this? No matter how accomplished or brilliant we become in this world, if we remain trapped in worldly existence, even with houses full of knowledge and sacred texts, we continue circling in samsara, unable to find the way out. The more knowledge we accumulate, the more we cling, the more we become attached. Whether it's clinging to knowledge, understanding, happiness or suffering, all exists within the realm of mental formations. Even our judgments of what is wholesome or unwholesome arise within this constructed reality. We don't realize we're merely playing with mental fabrications. In the realm of liberation, there are no words. It's a state of pure knowing without stories, awareness without an observer, a state of absolute purity that permeates everything. It's like a zero dimension, timeless, the source of all things. Our mind's essential nature is this pure life force element, immortal, never born, never ceased, neither coming nor going. We've never truly been born, yet we exist in this conventional world where we label appearances as birth and disappearances as death. When something appears again, we call it rebirth. When it dissolves, we call it death. Whatever we assign value to seems to arise, but in reality, all natural phenomena simply exist as they are, beyond conventional labels and values. When there's no one giving meaning to things, natural phenomena are free, appearing and dissolving according to their nature, ownerless, pure, and complete. It's like a whirlpool of cyclic existence, spinning in the cycle of suffering, a natural flow of mental formations. This very discourse, our thoughts, our emotions, when we get swept along with these conditions, believing in a self that flows with them, we experience joy, sorrow, anger, or indifference, all part of this cycle of suffering. If we jump into this whirlpool, it's not easy to escape without the Buddha's guidance, and even then, we must walk the path ourselves. For those long immersed in mental formations, playing with thoughts since childhood, flowing with emotion since birth, crying, laughing, playing make-believe alone, getting angry or sad alone. This is how we've engaged with mental formation since youth. As we grew and learned language, we began constructing more elaborate meanings, giving value to all things, creating concepts about material forms, then experiencing happiness and suffering based on these assigned values. This is what we call ignorance, playing endlessly in this conventional world of mental fabrications. When we're habitually playing with mental formations, we don't even realize we're thinking. Everyone in this world is caught in this cycle of fabrication, creating conventions, getting lost in them, clinging to them, and suffering because of them. Though emotions and thoughts are natural phenomena without an owner, we unconsciously claim ownership of them, and will never recognize this unless we awaken to inner awareness. This is why the Buddha taught, with ignorance as condition, formations arise. Due to not knowing, our minds flow with emotional and mental fabrications, drowning in our own mental constructs, believing these formations have a self. When we flow with and cling to these formations, they begin to fabricate a sense of self, attributing selfhood to the mind, which is actually just a pure element functioning according to conditions. We assign the value of I to this knowing element, creating a knower. Once we value the mind as self, there arises someone who knows. I am hearing this sound now. We claim ownership of consciousness, convinced that I am this mind. Then we evaluate experiences as pleasant or unpleasant, label them as merit or sin, giving meaning to abstract concepts and mental images, seeing them as beings and persons. After valuing mental phenomena, we extend this to physical forms, claiming ownership. This is my body, these are my limbs, I am truly a woman, this is truly my name, today is really Friday the 29th. We've relied on these fabrications since birth until they've become second nature, trapped in the cycle of suffering, the whirlpool of mental formations. Unless we awaken to inner awareness and understand this teaching, we'll continue suffering without end. Those who don't see these mental formations and remain not awake eternally will never understand true nature, never understand the nature of suffering, and will continue doubting the path to liberation. But when we awaken to inner awareness, the essence of mindfulness practice, it directly destroys ignorance. While ignorance conditions mental formations, and the mind depends on these formations due to not knowing, when we awaken to see these formations, the mind no longer flows with them. It simply observes, like watching a movie without becoming the characters. Anyone who maintains inner awareness will see the three characteristics in these formations. They're arising, persisting, and passing away. For instance, as you hear my voice now, try to be mindful of this sound. You'll realize it's just something contacting consciousness. Your mind is perceiving these words internally. Observe carefully. It's not you knowing, but consciousness knowing by its nature as a knowing element. Some might not understand this, thinking, I am knowing, but consider, remove consciousness from the body. Ears can't hear, the body can't move, it just awaits decay. Without consciousness residing in it, it becomes a lifeless form preparing to decompose. See how this body isn't you. It's just material elements of this world that consciousness, as life force, temporarily inhabits. Our consciousness, clouded by ignorance, inhabits these vessels to learn, but instead gets lost in external things, fabricating meanings for everything, creating stories and selves, cycling through fortunate and unfortunate realms, playing with pleasant and unpleasant emotions. But when we maintain inner awareness, seeing thoughts and emotions as they arise without getting involved, Just observing them luminously, we begin to realize these mental formations are natural phenomena without an owner. When the mind understands this, it releases its deluded attachments. As we practice this awareness more frequently, seeing how thoughts create everything, we become more familiar with being awake internally. At first we might think, I wasn't mindful in time, or if I was mindful, I wouldn't have gotten angry. But whether we're in time or not doesn't matter. These formations are ownerless by nature. The 5 aggregates contain nothing that is us or ours. If we haven't firmly grasped this principle, our practice becomes scattered and ineffective. We should write and post everywhere. The 5 aggregates are not self, not me, not mine. The body is just a vessel awaiting cessation, ready to stop functioning at any time, like a robot with its limited lifespan that we're temporarily using for learning and understanding. Being born human is fortunate. Our duty is to urgently realize the path to liberation. Beyond this, it's just the way of worldly beings cycling in existence. But having encountered Buddhist teachings, we must gain complete clarity and permanent freedom by making this firm determination. From this moment on, I will listen to these teachings, maintain awareness of mind, see thoughts and emotions, even the knowing itself, as natural phenomena, not self, not mine. I won't cling to any mental formations. This will be my last birth. Those who dare not make such a determination aren't truly interested in Buddhism. They're just studying superficially, hoping for future births or to boast of their knowledge, but not truly interested in liberation. The Buddha strongly emphasized not being heedless, urging us to realize liberation without delay and to maintain inner awareness rather than letting the mind drift outward or flow with mental formations. When we maintain inner awareness, it aligns with the foundations of mindfulness, bringing the blessing of enlightenment in this very life. Anyone who maintains inner awareness and frequently listens to these teachings, which I keep repeating until this knowledge becomes embedded in your consciousness, until your mind awakens on its own and truly sees the dangers of mental formations, will benefit. Imagine if we taught children from age 5, if teachers spent just 15 minutes daily, if leaders taught their teams, if we shared this wisdom through social media, teaching everyone to stay internally aware, not to get lost in thoughts and emotions. It's not about stopping the flow of thoughts. Let them flow. Let them think whatever they will, but about knowing without foolishly clinging. Let mental formations function according to their conditions, but don't attach to them. We'll just know without attributing meaning to any fabrications. When something arises, we'll know it. When it ceases, we'll know it. A wordless knowing, because true awareness has no language. When we think, there's language and stories, like my voice now creating meaning. But when we're truly awake internally, we can ask each other, are you awake yet? Don't drift, don't get lost, don't cling to thoughts and emotions. Let thoughts think, let emotions arise according to their causes, just know them without interfering or claiming ownership. It's like throwing a stone in water, naturally ripples form. That's its nature. Our only role is to know that this is how it is. Phenomena appear and dissolve on their own. Don't interfere. When we discuss awakening, some people report seeing thoughts clearly for the first time, understanding how thoughts create everything. They're moved to tears, feeling lightness and relief. With regular practice, people who were once constantly drifting with thoughts and emotions, prone to irritation, anger, stress, suffering from migraines, stomach problems, neurosis, even cancer, find their ailments disappearing. Depression lifts, digestive issues resolve, headaches and nervous conditions vanish. Their hearts become joyful. Those who were quick to anger find themselves responding differently. Awareness arises naturally through regularly listening to these teachings about mind and inner awakening. Let us understand that knowing just a handful, like holding leaves in our hand, is sufficient. Knowing more could hinder our path to enlightenment. When we communicate and share our awareness, we become a village of awakening, a community and a nation of awakening. Everyone in the world can reach nirvana in this lifetime, thanks to the inner awakening that paves the way. Imagine a simple question. When we meet, let's talk about awakening. How does it feel? Is it a constant state of being? Some may frequently experience awakening, becoming familiar with it, but their minds could drift into habitual thinking, leading to suffering. However, as we awaken more frequently, we become accustomed to inner awareness, no longer flowing with thoughts, becoming detached from them, and simply letting them pass by. Previously, upon recognizing a thought, we would immediately concoct more ideas, leading to stress and suffering, trapped in a cycle. Now, as we change, we learn to let thoughts go without prolonging or transforming them, unaffected by pleasant or unpleasant emotions. When our mind resides in this awakened state, it is anchored in purity and balance. It becomes naturally accustomed to this state without needing effort. It will eventually become an automatic awareness, constantly perceiving thoughts and observing them meticulously, even in sleep. This is called great mindfulness and wisdom. Sharing our experiences of awakening leads to transformation. Life becomes lighter, emotions more balanced, and stress less frequent. We stay in the present moment, experiencing sensations as they are hot or cold, pleasant or unpleasant. We do not cling to past or future anxieties, but exist in the present experience. With such awakened awareness, our mind does not hold on to fabrications and is free from the ignorance that once clouded it. The power of awakening, known as mindfulness, confronts the truth directly, dissolving illusions. In this moment of realization, tears may fall as we witness the dissolution of the worldly elements, and our body feels as though it's transforming. We understand that thoughts and emotions we perceive, like the voice you are hearing now, are not truly us, but are merely fabrications. The mind perceives this truth clearly and independently. The mind realizes, with clarity, that the nature it observes is not the mind itself, nor is it us. It is simply a transient state. In that moment of realization, everything dissolves completely. There is a profound sense of purity, revealed as the original essence or pure nature of our mind, which is emptiness free, clear, and the origin of all. This essence is beyond self, beyond knowers and things known, beyond good and bad, virtue and sin, which humans are often entangled in. In this pure state, there is no coming or going, no darkness or light, no birth or cessation, just eternal being. By understanding that our mind is uncreated and no self truly exists in the conventional worldly sense, we engage in enlightening conversations and teachings. This realization can awaken anyone, regardless of age or condition, children, adults, the elderly, and those with disabilities, as we all possess this mind. However, our mind tends to flow with mental formations, unaware of its true nature. Once we awaken internally and become familiar with this awareness, effortlessly letting thoughts come and go without prolonging them, enlightenment can occur within a short period. Practicing daily, listening to teachings, and strengthening our resolve creates simplicity in our lives. We can live normally while maintaining this awakened state throughout the day. From the moment we wake until we sleep, we can remain aware. As we rise in the morning, we might realize, oh, it's 7 o'clock already. We quickly become aware of ourselves caught up in thoughts and emotions. This initial awareness in practice shows us how we flow with emotions or get startled, and how thoughts naturally occur without anyone truly participating in these formations. Our task is to recognize that these thoughts and emotions, the conditioned phenomena, or the 5 aggregates, are not self and do not belong to us. They occur naturally without a self behind them. By grasping the impermanent and impersonal nature of these aggregates, known as form and name, the body-mind complex, we see that these thoughts, feelings, and perceptions are not truly us. Our role is to simply observe the thinking process, to witness the mind as it creates images and emotions, whether they be happiness, sadness, peace, or neutrality. This comprehension helps us detach from the identification with these transient states, recognizing them as mere fabrications. As we are aware, this awareness is a natural state, not ourselves. Our role is simply to be aware of reality as it is. Recognize whatever state is present without overthinking or analyzing it. Just be aware and let it pass. Practice awareness frequently, and you will find it possible to remain aware consistently. When waking up while making the bed, you might notice a thought in your mind. Am I on time? Then quickly heading to the bathroom with a feeling of agitation if you overslept and are in a bad mood. Recognize this displeasure, you are aware of it, and then let it go. Understand it as just a state, not your true self. It simply arises and dissipates naturally. Once you enter the bathroom, wash your face and brush your teeth in a hurry, skipping breakfast due to a rush to work, observe your inner state. If you remain mindful, you will notice feelings of urgency. This awareness reveals the restless nature appearing in your consciousness. Simply acknowledge it. It is what it is. As you hurriedly dress and think, I don't have time, let these thoughts arise and pass. Skipping breakfast, not worrying about anything, let's just go. Recognize that inner voice, the feeling of agitation, and the feeling that missing a morning routine causes chaos. You might even entertain thoughts like quitting your job, feeling anger or tension. Notice how these thoughts and feelings construct your experience. Understand that you are flowing with them. The Buddha taught that the 5 aggregates are not self. So why do we persist in believing they have a self? These internal voices and emotions are not truly us. Ask yourself, why suffer from them? For those with wise reflection, questions arise in their hearts, guiding self-inquiry and self-instruction. The mind teaches itself, seeking understanding, and through listening to the teachings of wisdom from instructors who speak of mind and non-self, one can realize the path to enlightenment. Listening to teachings in this way and deeply contemplating them helps the mind to accept non-self, leading to profound realization. The mind can awaken vividly, experiencing awe with tears of gratitude, bowing in humility to the earth rather than to anything else. Instructing ourselves not to cling to any fabricated notions is akin to dying before we die, freeing us from the belief that we are merely human. This frequent reminder helps align us with the truth of our existence. Frequently establish the determination not to be reborn, not to cling to any mental formations. Observe carefully the voice speaking in your mind. It's there constantly, along with mental images and emotions of pleasure and pain, satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Know them, but don't play with them. Practice dying before death. We must die to the self before our physical death. Let go of everything mentally while still fulfilling worldly duties, caring for parents and family. If you wish to ordain, do so for life. But if you're not ready for lifelong ordination to realize and teach the path, then family life is fine. Care for each other excellently in this conventional world. But in the realm of liberation, we must first understand, to return the mind to its pure element, we must give it wisdom, teach it that nothing is truly self. The Buddha declared the 5 aggregates are not self. Who can argue? What's speaking now isn't really a voice, there's no real speaker, no real listener. There's only nature expressing its purity, beyond language. Nothing has ever really arisen in this world. There's only the purity of nature. All phenomena, sounds, emotions, positive or negative, they aren't anything in particular. Whether we're mindful of them or not, they're not anything special. Guide the mind to inner awakening, reaching this state of not being anything. It's utterly pure, beyond language and stories. This is absolute truth, genuine Dharma. Even the Buddha, upon realizing this truth within himself, bowed to it. We all possess this truth already. It's our pure mind element. We have this pure element, but we're clouded by not knowing. We fabricate ideas about being human, being male or female, having this name or that, all self-imposed concepts. The Dharma is utterly pristine. There's nothing there, and it's not anything in particular. In both conventional and ultimate reality, nothing has ever truly existed as a self. There's only universal purity, with no divisions in the pure element. But when teaching humans, we must divide it to explain. In the conventional world, we play with mental formations, while in the liberated world, there's only pure knowing. This pure knowing has no self, no person. It's just the pure element of knowing that's always within us. We use human language when speaking to humans so they can understand. This voice speaking is a conventional language. We're playing with conventional expressions. We use language constantly, habitually attached to mental formations. But if we maintain inner awareness, we'll become familiar with knowing. This is crucial. Teach one another, tell your children, are you mindful, child? Don't cling to thoughts and emotions, not even to the knowing itself. Nothing is truly you. Live easily in this world, stay awake, don't foolishly suffer. Children might respond, yes, I understand now, everything is conventional. Parents, myself, school, pencils, everything. We just make these conventions. That's right. Don't cling, just use them. Simply know from within. How does it feel? Spacious? Light? Empty? They might say, yes, I feel so at ease now. My concentration is better, my memory has improved. I understand everything now, even other people's minds. I see their delusion, their attachments, their beliefs. Actually, there's nothing there. They might share, yesterday I cried. My body seemed to explode. I encountered the pure natural element where I doesn't exist. It was so pure. Now it's always like this. I won't cling to any formations anymore. I won't be reborn. I'll teach everyone and talk to my friends about awakening. If everyone in this world discussed awakening, not foolishly clinging to mental formations, letting thoughts and emotions function naturally because they have no self, no owner, letting these natural phenomena do their work. As I always say, where is the self in this voice? Don't foolishly cling. Our thoughts, imaginings, emotions that arise constantly, don't cling to them. They're just natural phenomena, appearing and dissolving. Don't foolishly cling. Clinging leads to birth. But if you maintain inner awareness continuously, you'll become familiar with knowing. The mind will begin to know by itself and eventually won't depend on formations anymore. That's enlightenment, because a mind that doesn't rely on formations breaks free from the conventional world into liberation. Ignorance completely dissolves, transformed into wisdom that realizes nothingness. When spiritual practice reaches its culmination, nothing remains at all. The day the Buddha taught, we lost our sense of self, lost our attachments, lost our delusion, lost our worldly gains, praise and pleasures, lost our very identity as worldly beings. Like this, there remains no feeling of being anything at all, just purity, completeness, perfection at all times. This pure element isn't something anyone becomes. The mind is inherently pure already. We're merely pointing the way. You must walk it yourself and see for yourself. With just knowing, all doubts cease. Natural phenomena aren't anything in particular, they simply are what they are. This voice is just as it is, emotions are just as they are. Don't even label them as emotions. They're just some natural phenomenon. Mental formations are simply one kind of natural occurrence. Don't flow with them, don't foolishly cling. Let them function. Whether pleasant or unpleasant emotions arise, let them do their work. It has nothing to do with us. It's like a smartphone. The phone itself is just one natural phenomenon, not involved with anything. But the images, sounds and colors appearing on its screen, these are mental fabrications. Like how the phone screen can display stories of good and evil, right and wrong, violence and peace, birth and death, gain and loss, praise and blame, happiness and suffering, hatred and love. All these are just like a magical play appearing on the screen. There might be explosions, destruction, natural disasters, countless deaths. But can any of this affect the actual phone? Does the phone get involved with the stories appearing on its screen? No. And that's exactly how our mind is. It's as if our mind is the phone, but it mistakenly identifies with the stories playing on its screen. When one show plays for 2 weeks, it thinks, this is me. When that show ends and a new one begins, it thinks, now this is me. How foolish. But one day it learns and processes the understanding. Wait, these images, sounds, colors and stories keep changing. I keep switching roles. If I keep changing characters, what am I really? Do I actually exist? The Buddha came to teach that these fabricated dramas and stories have no real self or existence. We are not these dramas or any of the stories within them. Even our current understanding and awareness are merely functions of our mental processes. We are not involved. We are like a phone separate from its screen content. When this phone receives the teachings of the Buddha, it realizes, this is how it is. It experiences an awakening and restarts itself. Although it continues to display images, sounds and stories, it no longer clings to them, for it understands that it has never truly been part of these stories. It has always been a phone. Similarly, our minds and mental formations reflect this truth. Our minds are inherently pure. Realizing that the stories we create aren't real, they're illusions the mind lets go of attachment, returning to its original purity, with the wisdom known as prajna. This purity has always been untouched by birth or death. Understanding this is a path to enlightenment. It becomes clear that enlightenment is simply awakening to this inner truth, ever present. We must frequently practice inner awareness, recognizing our thoughts and emotions calmly and lightly, and let them pass. The more we listen and remain aware, the more we realize that this aware presence isn't truly us. It exists on its own, detached and empty, known as the essence of emptiness or pure element. Thoughts and emotions arise from emptiness and dissolve back into it. This is the essence of non-being. There is nothing to be attached to. This understanding, leading to the end of suffering, is the wisdom we should realize in this lifetime. May those with a steadfast resolve to end the cycle of rebirth swiftly attain the path and fruition of nirvana as desired. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.